because how can a Christian know what they are meant to do, especially on matters of salvation?
It was a joke for him, but it's not a joke for me.
If I had a pastor at a church who was operating in the way that many of these popes throughout history operated, like, you would be fired a long time ago, and I'd probably have called the police.
Just because the popes were bad, and just because we can say they did things that were disqualifying for office of the individual, doesn't mean the office is still not necessary.
Do you think Peter would have taken this on as a title?
Why do you have all these very specific structures and qualifications for lower positions such as elders and deacons, but not one for the supposed head of the church?
The Pope does not have the jurisdiction legally, but he does have a moral obligation to consult bishops on all matters.
This is my concern, is that,
Sahil, if that happens, the church is down. I'm a Catholic, and I'm here debating 6 Protestants on my belief that the papacy is essential for the church. I think we would all agree there needs to be structure, but the question is, what does that structure look like? And I think if we look at the growth and history of the church, especially in the early church, having the role of presbyters and deacons as the church expands, essential headship becomes more and more necessary to ensure that different churches in different areas around the world still claim to the same church. There are 2 aspects behind what's referred to as papal minimalism, which is what I hold to, which the First Vatican Council, there's a document called Pastor Aeternus that really specifically drills down on this. That says the Pope is, in effect, the guardian of unity and the guardian of faith. It doesn't mean he's a monarch. It doesn't mean he's a king. It means that the buck stops with the Pope, and his role is to ensure that the church is unified and the church is non-heretical. After Christ's Christ's ascent back into heaven, there is no structure other than having Peter as the first Pope at the headship and then everyone else under him. Now, granted, the under term is a really, let me clarify that, because that could be very easily misconstrued. There is equality of bishops, but equality of bishops, and Cyprian talks about this, is equal in that you have jurisdiction of that you are oversee. You're looking at, okay, for example, my bishop has more oversight on me than the Pope because he's my bishop. He can instruct me to not do ministry. He can instruct me to do ministry a certain way. If I want to use the name Catholic in doing certain things, I would have to get permission from him. So the bishop has a lot more authority in that role than the Pope does. But so the whole like bishop over bishops thing, that's not what I'm referring to in equality. What I'm referring to is that they're equal in jurisdiction, but the Pope is still the head of the entire college of bishops. And with that comes certain specific roles. And we see that from Peter in Acts 1, when when Judas's seat is vacant, and they say, let's bring Matthias in and let's find a new person. And they found Matthias. We see this even in the Council of Jerusalem. Technically, James is the one who's running the Council of Jerusalem because he's the Bishop of Jerusalem. Makes sense. If you look throughout, the bishop of the area is always going to be the one who's presiding over it, which is why Vatican I and II are very interesting, because the Pope is the bishop of the Vatican. So it's a really unique, weird thing that we have modern. However, Peter is the last one who makes the final choice and the final statement about what will happen. And James's comments at the end of the Council of Jerusalem are about pastorally enacting what Peter was discussing.
So how does that, where are you seeing in the book of Acts Peter operating